and welcome to Intermediate English with Gregg. That's me. So, let's get started. Well, as usual, let's warm up with the weather.
Greg, how's the weather today?
It's a perfect spring day. It's a perfect spring day. This is maybe very simple, but let's check the board. Well, of course, our question of how's the weather today, it's a very simple answer. It's a perfect spring day. Now, we're looking at the words perfect, spring, and day. There are no new words here. Okay? But this is a very convenient pattern because the word perfect I could change to wonderful, gorgeous, right? Hot, warm. I can change this word. Of course, I could use any season, spring, summer, fall, and winter. And the word day, I could change it to morning, afternoon, night. Right? So you have a lot of options with this phrase. Right? So it's a perfect spring day, great. Right? It's a lovely summer evening. Right? So there are many ways to use this. Okay? But today, because spring is coming soon, I chose it's a perfect spring day. So, I'll ask the question and please use today's phrase. How's the weather today? Great. Now, for today's lesson. Well, for today's lesson, we're going to continue this idea of changes. In today's point, we're going to use these phrases, used to and didn't used to. Okay? Now, in our previous lesson, we talked about the word more, fewer, and less. Okay? That there are more of something, or there are fewer of something. There is more, there is less. Okay? To talk about changes. Today, using the word used to and didn't used to. Now, maybe you understand this. This is maybe only review. But when we use these two patterns, we're comparing the past to now. Okay? So there is talking about a change. When we use the word used to plus some action, means in the past, that action was true. Now, that action is not true. Okay? If we use didn't used to, it's just the opposite. That in the past, it was not true. Okay? Now, it is true. Now, we'll give some examples. Okay? But we use this pattern, used to and didn't used to compare the past and now, which is talking about a change. Okay? Now, I want to talk about two cases. Changes maybe with people, and changes maybe with places. Okay? So, okay? We're going to use these ideas that I used to, I didn't used to. Or just in general, people used to, people didn't used to. Okay? Talking about a place, using the idea they're used to, or they're didn't used to. Okay? Or you can change the subject, for example, my hometown. My hometown used to, my hometown didn't used to. Okay? Again, at the end of this series, we will use all of these ideas again to talk about maybe some changes to Yamanakako. Okay? But for today, here are a few examples. Okay? Using the idea I used to. Okay? For example, you might have an idea, I used to live in Tokyo. Okay? In the past, that was true. Now, no. Maybe now I live in Yamanakako. Okay? Okay? Or, for example, in my case, okay, in my case, I didn't used to like natto. Okay? So, okay, that in the past, okay, I did not like it. But now, I do. Okay? So, sometimes changes people's likes or preferences, of course, change over time. So this idea, I didn't used to like natto, but now I do. Right? Just talking about people in general. Right? For example, people used to watch movies on VHS tapes. Now, I'm sure you remember VHS tapes, but there are probably a lot of children now that have no idea what a VHS tape is. That, of course, has changed. Right? Or something that didn't used to, again, being in a pandemic, right? Maybe a lot of things changed. But for example, people didn't used to people didn't used to wear masks year-round. Okay? Maybe sometimes in winter, maybe sometimes in spring because of hay fever, but not year-round. Okay? So, of course, in the past, people did not do that. They did not wear masks, but now, of course, we do. Okay? So we're talking about some changes with people. Okay? The point is, after used to and didn't used to, it's always going to be an action. Right? So live, like, watch, wear. Right? Now, we can also use the same pattern to talk about maybe a place. Now, it could be your hometown. It could be talking about a restaurant, a hotel. You could be talking about your own house. Right? But just talking about some places. Maybe, for example, maybe this idea, for example, there used to be a big hotel on the corner. That in the past, yes, but now maybe that hotel is gone. Okay? Cities often build new buildings, but also tear down old buildings. So towns are often changing. Another change, maybe to your town, for example, there didn't used to be a tunnel here. Right? Of course, talking about this area, of course, between Fujiyoshida and Oshino, there didn't used to be a tunnel. Right? And even between Fujiyoshida and Kawaguchiko, that Arakure tunnel, of course, there didn't used to be a tunnel. Right? So in the past, no, but now, yes, that has changed. Or, for example, changing the subject, my hometown. Right? For example, my hometown used to have a lot of rice fields. Right? I can remember in my experience, first coming to Fujiyoshida, that on the Fujimi bypass, there was nothing on the Fujimi bypass. Right? There were maybe a few homes, very few shops, but there were mainly a lot of rice fields. Right? So in the past that was true, but now it's a big change. Right? My hometown used to have a lot of rice fields. Now, maybe not so many. One last example. For example, my hometown didn't used to, for example, maybe talking about change to the temperature. Right? For example, my hometown didn't used to be so hot in summer. Right? In the past, yeah, it was not so hot, but now it is. Right? So maybe years ago, many people in this area did not have air conditioners. They did not need air conditioners. But now more and more homes do have. So maybe talking about a change in the weather. Right? So, but the same idea, after used to and didn't used to, it will always be a verb. In this case, just the be verb or, of course, in this case, have. Right? But we use these ideas used to and didn't used to talk about changes. Okay? Now, sometimes using this pattern, it is very nostalgic. Okay? They're talking about, there used to be this shop here, or it's fun to remember how people have changed, and especially how have towns and cities changed. Well, we'll use these patterns again, but that's all for today. See you next time.